Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Phil. I am the Down Under Maker. How is everybody today? Now, I know that David's still streaming over at Armor 3D Printing, so um, he said he might, if he gets the ability to do it, transfer and raid over to us. Fingers crossed it works, in which case that'd be awesome. If it doesn't, well, we've not lost anything. So, let's first of all introduce the elephant in the room. It's here. The Prusa turned up yesterday. Hi, Jex. Hi, Brad. Hi, Martin, and Clownhammer, and whoever else is around. Um, where we're at. Hopefully today will be the last Roady 3D sets build. If it is, awesome, amazing, great, yes. Next week, regardless of what happens, Tuesday night America, Wednesday morning Australia, we are going to be unboxing the Prusa. I'm planning on that for the simple reason that I only have about 90 minutes next week because my daughter will be home and it's still school holidays, and it'll be the yeah, it's just the way it all works out. After that, the following week, so 2 weeks from today, that will be back to, well, 2 weeks from tomorrow will be back to normal times and days and everything else. So where are we at? Let me just get rid of this because it's clogging up my screen. Let's put it up there out of the way. Now, I forgot to set up my browser windows before I did all this, so this might be a bit jank. Give me a moment. That one. Properties. Sorry, guys, just fixing this up. Oh no, strange things are going on. Go back to me. All right. I'll fix that in a moment. Where we are at, we have a mostly assembled dump truck. Let's go to that one. So I'm going to turn this around so it's facing the side camera. Truck, tray, hydraulic thing is just loosely fitted because I wanted to make sure all my parts were here. Cab is going to go somewhere there. And we have doors and all sorts of other things. Now, last week we were having difficulties. Things just weren't quite aligning and it was just hard. So we caught it and we moved on. While you guys weren't here and I had some time to just sit calmly and work things out, I fitted the windscreen wipers because they needed a lot of very, very fine filing just to get them to fit nicely and stay in place. I also, let's get rid of the tray for a minute. I also reprinted the radiator grill because it wasn't quite right, and I put a little contrast layer in around where it says 3D sets in the middle, so that now has 2 layers of black filament in the reprint to allow that little bit of more contrast. Why? Well, I wasn't happy with the original hood that I printed. There was lots of stringiness from where the filament wasn't quite right, so I reprinted it. And it snapped as I took it off the bed. And I had no end of trouble printing this part. It took 7 attempts to get that one good part. It's been fine up until yesterday. Then my daughter had some friends over and she wanted to show them the truck that Daddy built. And these little lugs that stick out, that's them. So if we get there towards the end of the stream, I'm going to go grab the super glue from the fridge and we're going to glue those back on because I am not printing this part anymore. I'm over it. I don't even think I've got enough filament, to be honest. Other things that were going awry for us last week. I realized that the XT60 doesn't fit through the routing. So that XT60 has now been taken. I unsoldered the wire entirely. I soldered the XT60 to a new piece of wire, pulled it through and soldered it to the battery pack, which lives behind that panel. It's all in there. You'll just have to trust me. The other thing I did to stop myself getting constantly spiked by the end of the wires was I fitted the Wagos. That wire needs shortening by about 3 or 4 centimeters, so just over an inch, to make it all nicely line up with the others. So we'll do that in a few minutes. Other things I did, I realized that one of the wires had jumped off another one of the motors, so I've resoldered all of that. Other than that, you have been present for all of the build. It's it's all together. We're getting there. It's going to be a masterpiece, hopefully. What I've got here is the cable I've made up ready to connect from the output of the speed controller into the Wagos, which will then feed all the drive motors. The reason for using Wagos is it means if I have cocked up any of the wiring in terms of polarity for the drive wheels, we can just unplug them from the Wagos, turn them over, and it should then be as simple as that to make everything all work again. So, where are we going to start? My thought is we start by, let's put the back of the truck together. That's the next part of the instruction set, so let's follow that. Cab. We also have to put the back on the cab. We'll do that in a minute. Let's put the back on the truck. So here's the mounting part that we did last. Oh, I need to put this on Chrome for you guys, don't I? Let's see if I can work this out. Source, Chrome browser, window, build guide. There we go. That's better. So last week we did this bit where we put the screws in. That was another reason for reprinting the hood. Those holes had got a little bit too big because I was messing around with some slicer settings for part of my testing for the super slicer beta, and the screw holes were just too big and it wasn't a snug enough fit. So that was one of the other drivers for having to reprint that part. So next is talking about installing the cab. We're not going to do that bit. And then it goes on to install the trims on the back of the cab. Let's leave that for now, and let's put the back of the truck together. So one of the reasons you can't do the back of the truck is you need to have all the wiring in place. We've got all the wiring in place. First thing we need is the piston. Now, some of you may have noticed on a YouTube post that I had already put a lot of this stuff together. It was just simply a dry assembly, more or less putting things into place and basically just stuffing filaments into the screw holes to hold things so they didn't fall out while I was playing. So bottom of the piston is already inserted. Plate is there. We need to put some screws into it. We need an M310. Now it doesn't seem to matter which way around this goes. That's all symmetrical. Oh, other thing I've acquired. Let's see if I can show you guys this. I kept putting tools down and them go astray. So what I've done is I've got myself a little AliExpress tool caddy to try and hopefully act as a base for me to put everything and not lose it. So there's an M310 in that one. We'll have to come back to that in a second. And that then goes into that silver plate. Where did I put that? I say I'm getting more organized so I don't lose things, then I lose things. Silver plate, which it then inserts into the truck here. That is also an M310. Hi, Charlie 3D. You're a new guy. DJ Midnight Wolf, hi. Hi, Martin. Uh-oh. Oh, sorry. It was just the plastic clicking into place. It wasn't breaking. Yep, it's all good. So we have the cylinder all built, and what else do we need to do? We need to put the back frame on the truck, and I'm guessing we're going to need the, yeah, we're going to need that. Okay. One thing I did off stream, again, to make sure I didn't lose parts, you can just about make out on the stream here, there's these two plates that they're basically dovetail fitted onto the center point. So let's show you. And the reason they're dovetailed on is because they have these little red extra prints on the surface, just to give it a little bit of an extra detail. So that, have I missed a step back here? Or have they just jumped ahead and assumed? Yes, they've just jumped ahead again. Now, one of the ongoing themes for those of you who haven't been on the stream is that the manual for this build hasn't been the easiest to follow. So I'm just having a look. We need to fit the frame with a whole bunch of more M310s and an M312. M312, okay, so, or M310s. Yeah, so for those who haven't been here for the whole series, the manual jumps around a little bit. I've had to jump around a little bit. And a lot of the plates, because it's supplied in whole plates to print out, they're not actually included in the Roady kit, Roady plate kit. You actually also have to download another kit, which they include for free, but it's not then explicitly spelled out what you need to print from there. So you end up in an awful muddle with in regards to what needs to be printed, when, why, and how. Let's go back to that. Now, I am fairly new to streaming, so I'm a little bit clunky on some of this stuff. I know, I apologize. That's not lining up for some reason. And this is another thing that's been an ongoing misery. Some of the parts don't always fit. There we go. Although it does help if I put the parts in the right way up sometimes. That's not biting. So, next week's stream. I was kind of expecting that my Prusa that I won was going to be the kit. It turns out it's actually the fully assembled core one, but it's from one of the latest batches. So in theory, it should have all of the VFA issues and all that sort of stuff nailed straight out of the box. So that means that maybe we're going to have a different experience to some of the other people who got the early batches, where they seem to suffer quite badly from VFA. Hi, Nick. Hi, Beardy. That's not the right spot. I bet you could reverse fully assemble. I am not going to do that, Nick. So the kit got the Prusa got dropped off yesterday, and I just got it dropped into my garage by the courier guy, and I brought it through, and I loaded it. Actually got a set of drawers here that I use as a wheelie trolley. That's exactly the same height as my printer bench behind me, and I just slid it across onto the bench and then went, oh, it's fully assembled. I'm going to have to find some content for a couple of weeks now because I was kind of half planning around the fact that I was going to be building the Prusa for about 4 to 6 weeks. So yeah, I'm going to have to deal with that. That's going to be fun. Right, so rear arm is on. We then need to fit this piece into here. Now there's actually some little dimples it fits into just there. Then we need M312s for those two. That's the one I need. That needs to go back. If I was going to sum up what the build for this has been like, it'd have to be roller coaster ride. Some bits go together amazing and you're like, wow, this was really well thought out. And then you look at other parts and you go, okay, that don't make no sense. Have I enjoyed it? Yeah. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching me struggle with it. And for all the new people who've joined me today, please don't forget to like and subscribe and all that streamer stuff that they talk about. It does help. I'm not monetized. I would like to be eventually, but I'm not stressing that sort of stuff. But in order to get there, I need 500 subscribers and I need a whole bunch of watch hours. So even if you can't catch a live stream, please, please, please do watch them as a video on demand afterwards because it all adds up and it all helps. Now, this is actually getting in my way and annoying me, so I'm going to shorten this cable now. To avoid more hassle. Use the right tool for the job. About there. Got to go create 400 accounts there. That would be awesome, Beardy, but I want to do it the right way. And now Beardy's a streamer like me. He knows the pressures, he knows the hassles, he knows the stresses. So if you don't know, Bearded Printer has started streaming on, is it YouTube or Twitch, Beardy? He started streaming, and he's the last stream I managed to catch of his was some ad stuff, which I probably should go back and watch because I'm appalling at CAD. Now, where are we at? We have all of these screws installed. The rear piston mount has been assembled. The rear piston is in place. Ah, that's what I misunderstood. That needs to be taken out and redone. This is actually an M320. It would have worked as is, and I don't think it would have been a problem, but not that kind, that kind. Now the piston, just to explain it because I did that part off stream, the piston is actually a whole bunch of segments. Let's go to the page in the manual for you guys. And all of those segments are not fully round. They're actually circular, but with flat surfaces on facing each other, on the opposite sides of the circle to each other, meaning that the piston parts won't actually rotate within each other, which hopefully should help prevent them binding up. So, screw is in place. And then we come to here. Now, this only fits one way around because there's a flat side here, and the rest of that is a surround to go into place. Now, this is just a simple clip in. It's not really load bearing as such. All the load is carried elsewhere. So let's go here. And now, when for those who are new to the stream, when we did some of this, we built the tray early for a very good reason. I'd been on to the 3D Sets Facebook group, and a lot of people had had the same sort of hassles that I had. This thing is so big, especially when it's in parts, that you end up with a situation where you've got so much all over the place, you just can't manage it. There's too many parts, it's too big to store, it's too big to put into cupboards. So we started to assemble things into big sub-assemblies ready to install rather than following the manual precisely. So here's the tipper tray we prepared earlier. I did do one thing off stream. I kept dropping this on the floor and I stood on one in bare feet and it sucked and I broke it. So I ended up screwing the new one in place before I did that again. So let's quickly go through the manual. It was pretty simple. There's a bunch of pieces that all dovetail together, lots and lots and lots of screws. Underneath, this is a arm which you can then fold out and it locks into the chassis to actually allow you to have the tray sitting up. This is the hinge point here, and I did myself a custom number plate which says DU Maker, and down under in the little logo section here rather than 3D Sets. So that's putting the tray together, and it's an M320 on each side and an M316. Where's the M316 going? Okay, I'm confused. There's an M316 needs to go in, but I can't see. And that's probably the top of the piston. Let's show you guys. This is, again, for those who haven't been here, an ongoing part of the build issues. Can you see the screw? There's just a vague dashy line and it disappears into there. But where? It goes into the top of the piston, I'm 99.9% sure. But it would be nice to have a better diagram, wouldn't it? So let's get these M320s. That's there. I don't have any affiliate links for filament directly, I don't think, Brad. I did sign up for the Polymaker program, but I'm not sure whether it's operational or not. Give it a try, nothing to lose. But if you've got another person you want to support, then that's just fine by me too. Now I need to be super careful with what I'm doing here. Let's move this up a little bit so you're not trying to look through chat. These two sub-assemblies are quite heavy, so if I do anything silly, it's going to break something. There. Now to take the load off that, there it is. Maybe I did break that. That's easy enough fixed. We can reprint one of those. Oh, the other thing for new people, I'm clumsy. I drop stuff a lot. Try not to get my head too much into this camera view. All right, that should now be able to take its own weight. Yeah, that's broken. So we'll find that piece on the plate in a minute and we'll quickly get that printing. It's a small part, it should only take a few minutes. Now, there's no heat set inserts in any of these parts. It's all just screw into plastic. So you do have to have a little bit of finesse when you're doing this. If you were using a power screwdriver, you would be taking a pretty big risk unless you got the torque settings exactly right. There. Yeah, that's definitely broken. Yep. So that sucked. Okay, let's jump over to Super Slicer. Now, I did mention earlier that I'm on the Super Slicer beta. Do have a Super Slicer. Sorry guys, I know it's black. It'll pop up in a second, hopefully. There we go. So let's find that part. Now, actually, I'm going to move this. I have a monitor but set over to the side, but it's way too high up. And if I'm over here, you can actually see me a little bit better. So let's maximize that. There we go. Add a part. You can't see me adding parts, unfortunately, because it's a second pop-up window. Piston, piston, piston. Is it in here? Yes, that's the part. Close that. Get out of that. Delete, 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 delete. So what's actually happened is that little part, that side's fine. The other tongue has broken off. Presumably the screw didn't go through quite evenly. And what I thought was it popping into place was it actually snapping off. I'm going to print this with a little bit higher infill this time, I think. I've been printing with 18%. And that's obviously not quite enough for that part. Let's go 30%. Power the printer on. Now for all of this, I have been printing with my Ender 5. It's fitted with a BIQ H2 V2S Revo. I'm just chatting basically at the moment to allow the printer time to boot up because it was shut down. One of the things I'm planning to do as content after the Prusa is a bit of a rebuild on that machine. It's a bit jank because of all the mods it's had over time, and strange things are going on. Like it's got an SKR Pico MCU board on it, but it's not got enough juice on that Pico board to power the Raspberry Pi that's running on the machine, even though it's supposed to. It just doesn't. So I've bought myself some 5-volt power supplies. May as well show you guys while we wait for the machine to boot. Bought myself some power supplies. And that's going to be used to power the Raspberry Pi individually. Also means that the LRS 300s that came with this particular model of Ender, the power supply fan runs all the time. And it means I'll be able to put a relay in and shut down that power supply and turn it on and control it from Clipper, which will make life a little easier and quieter and possibly save me a little bit of power. So, hi GTR Dad. Yes, it's a Franken printer, but its print quality is not bad. People always bag out Enders, but as a machine, it's always been pretty good to me. It just, as parts wore out, it needed parts replacing. So that's all set up. It looks like I've got black filament in there. Silver filament, not the end of the world. We'll go with that. So super slicer, slice now. I need to add a button to my Stream Deck to let me do this. So let's zoom in on this. One thing I always do is I go through here and I check there's no strange overhangs. You know what? This is only going to take 17 minutes to print. What happens if we jack up the infill to 40%? It adds about 7 seconds. Yeah, let's go with that little bit extra infill. That might give me that little bit more support in there. What if I go even higher still? That does give me a bit more support inside, but not that much. I don't think I'm going to gain anything by that. So let's go to 40%, slice now. So I'm just having issues with dancing taskbars. Upload and print. Okay, you guys can't see the upload and print either, which is a little bit annoying, but let's see if we can zoom you guys in on this. Narrow, super zoom, and no, that way, that way. Oh, too far. Up, up, up. So yeah, we can zoom into that when we need to. Oh, I need to put my other laptop away too. Kenneth Davis, hi. Like and subscribe and all that stuff, please, if you're new here. And some of you guys might have noticed that on people's streams, I've been jumping into chat occasionally and saying that that people aren't liking the streams. It really does make a huge difference to people who are streaming if you like the stream. It means that you're more likely to get recommended to people who are looking at similar videos. So please, 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 that one. Please, 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 please do, absolutely, definitely do make sure that you like and subscribe. It makes a big difference. Let's go back to me for a minute because that's, there we go. So where are we at? We have that part printing. We have shortened the cable for the rear wheels. We have the XT60 in place. Let's try and mount some of this stuff. So the speed controller does actually come with VHB tape ready to be VHB'd into spot. The receiver doesn't, but I have VHB tape right here. So let's get some of that cut to stick on the bottom of the receiver just to give it some purchase so it doesn't float around inside the truck. I do have scissors here somewhere. There they are. Now these things weigh a matter of a couple of grams, so you don't need a huge amount of VHB tape. It's just a case of a little bit in the middle to stop it wandering around. Now I'm going to leave that on there because I'm not quite sure where it's going to get mounted. Let's go back to that one. And I've minimized Chrome, so I need to unminimize it. There we go. What we have here is we have the wiring, which is back up here, and some suggested locations for things. Now the 3D Sets leaves you to yourself and your own devices in a lot of regards. It's not very clear in many cases what's supposed to happen where, why, or how. You just have to guesstimate it. I think it's just relying on the fact that a lot of people building these things have done them many times before and are experienced enough to know what to do. Now, I have the exact speed controller they talk about, and I'm guessing, based on what we're just looking at there, that it goes this way around with the high voltage leads that way, and then they need to tuck back on themselves, and then that lead goes up to the receiver, which lives up here, which makes sense. Now the printer's started, so I'm just going to quickly, yeah, it's looking good for a first layer. Does anybody else have the same issue as I do? It's impossible to get the backing off the VHB sometimes. So based on what I'm seeing in there, the speed controller just sits here, taped to the slope, just like that. Now, I made up this little lead already. This end is going to go in the Wagos. This end, I am going to jank a little bit because I don't have any choice. I thought I had the right kind of connectors, but I don't. You're supposed to have bullet connectors on this wire that connect into the speed controller. I don't have them. Stuff happens. So make sure I've got all my polarities correct. Negative goes to that side, which means positive goes to that side. Now, I have a whole bunch of these Wagos, so I'm going to show you guys. Now, these are not genuine. As much as it might have a Wago logo in some of the spots, they're definitely not the real thing. But for those of you who haven't seen it, have a look at bigclive.com. Big Clive is an electrical expert. He's a roadie for bands and all sorts of other things. So he deals with very high-powered electrical stuff, and he's a big fan of these. He says that the clamping force on them is actually better than genuine Wagos in a lot of cases. And the way they're designed, there's a very sharp edge on the electrical contactor, which digs into the copper. And that means that the wire can't pull out as anywhere near as easily. I need to grow out my fingernails. They're pretty bad already, dude. What you'll find though is I get flat spots. Because when I'm helping the kids at school with their projects, quite often we're using the laser cutter to cut the big sheets of acrylic, and my nails get ground to a flat surface from constantly peeling all the plastic off the acrylic sheets that we're cutting up. So that one is in place. Now for the ground. Now, for some reason, I only have one 4-pin Wago and a whole bunch of 5-pins that came in this particular pack. So I'm just embracing it, and I'm going with a 4-pin for the positive and a 5-pin for the negative, because why not? So 2 Wagos back to back. If I squeeze them together like that, my plan is, once this is all assembled and tested, I'm going to wrap some Kapton tape around that to hold it all together as a nice little block, and that should make things happy and ready to use. Now, where's the manual for the speed controller? It's not there. That must be it. I just want to double check before I plug something in and burn everything out. Although it shouldn't matter too much because it's just motors. Yeah, I don't think this is going to matter. So my plan is to have blue to negative. Now, where's my... Now these are bullet connector style females. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze them up onto the existing crimps, just like that, and we should be good. Now, currently there's no power going into the system because the XT60s are unplugged, so we're going to leave that unplugged for now, and we're going to find the receiver. Receiver is there. Receiver is supposed to live up here. Now, I didn't get the exact model of receiver they recommended, purely and simply because my transmitter came with this one, and I couldn't see the point in spending more money than I absolutely was forced to. So let's go back to this. So where are we at? We've got all of that wiring achieved. So there's a battery wire comes in from underneath, feeds into the Wagos. No, it doesn't. That battery wire feeds into the XT60. XT60 feeds into the speed controller. Speed controller feeds back to the Wagos. Now, we're going to need to connect the speed controller to the receiver. And from memory, there's a special port we need to use. Did I remember to fish that servo wire through? Yes, I did. Let's go now to the receiver and transmitter manual. Is this going to be a situation where there's no manual for the receiver? Yes, there's no manual for the receiver. Let's try. Okay, so we can go to others. Not quite sure why my stream is playing there, but okay. Let's go FS-IA6B. There we go. And no manual popping up immediately. Come on. I don't want to watch a video. That's not even the real instructions. So it's FS IA. Sorry guys, just I should have got this prepared off screen, but I didn't. FS IA. Does anybody know which ones I plug it into? You just plug things in until it works. Same, okay. Let's try something different. FS-IA6B pinout. That's what we needed. Now I'm going to take a guess that the positive and negative are just bus rails. That's not loading. So let's just go with this one. Open image in new tab. And let's zoom it in a bit. So I'm going to take a punt that the positive is a bus rail, the ground is a bus rail, and the signals are what we need to play with. So let's plug the servo in to, I believe it's channel 3. 1, 2, 3. And then the speed controller. Let's go with channel 1, and we can always move it around. It's mostly about knowing which way to put the plugs in, if I'm honest. Wait a minute, I remember something from somewhere. BVCC. Oh, will Banggood come through for us? Now the receiver is actually optimized for the receiver is optimized for aircraft, but it shouldn't make any difference. It's suggesting that the throttle should be on channel 3. So I knew I'd seen something about channel 3, so I'm going to swap that over. Throttle onto channel 3, servo onto channel 1, and we can always rejuggle them. Let's go back to here. RC, a nice place to store it in the tray, so that's all good. Let's plug it in. Turn that on. Oh, something on the servo just went jiggle. We may need to adjust the steering according to this, but that's not a big deal. And let's see if we can get in the speed control. Nothing from the speed control there. Whoa! Well, I guess it drives. It's not the right channel. And all the motors are going in the same direction, guys. So it rolls. Awesome. So let's shut that down for now. There's a actual power switch here somewhere in amongst all this to shut down the receiver. Yep, that's shut down. We're on the right track. Nice thing about using the receiver, that can probably, yeah, it comes automatically paired. Woo, technologies. That's right. So we have all our electronics kind of in the right place. I'm going to leave the switch tucked down there. Now the receiver is supposed to go in here, but there's also a cover that goes over that when the cab goes into place. So let's put this up. There. That just needs a minute to self-release, but the bottom part of the piston is completed, thank goodness. And that's a bit less than the 17 minutes estimate, so I must be doing something right. And we're off, that's right, Clam Hammer. Let's get the cab on. Now, I think that lot is going to have to tuck back a bit, because there's kind of a tunnel. To allow the wiring to go into place. Receiver up there. Just having a good look all the way around, because that's not quite sitting exactly where I was thinking it was going to. Ah, it's because the XC60 is in the way. So it sits down properly at the back, but it doesn't appear to be sitting quite in the right spot at the front. What's not fitting? There we go. Just needed a little more persuasion. So let's go back to here. Wait, this isn't a death race. It could be. Apparently you can juice the power up on the motors up to 24 volts. It's currently only getting 12. So what am I looking for? Manual. Rolling chassis. Build the cab, which we did last week. Put the seats in. Now, there's a very good reason for not putting the doors on at this point, even though the instruction manual suggests to. That is that we need to rebuild the doors. That's putting the hood on. Assembling the cab. Now, that cover tray is what I'm propping the tipper up on. Now, I'm not quite sure what goes on with this tray. It doesn't sit where you expect it to sit. It doesn't cover what you expect it to cover. And it doesn't have anywhere to screw into anyway. So at this point, I'm going to give it my best guess and leave it exactly where it is at the moment. I'm going to tuck those antennas up there above it so they've got a bit more chance of not getting drowned out by the power from the motors. So cab put together. It says now to put the back cover on the cab. Hands plus me. Now, we assembled this a couple of weeks ago, most of you will remember. And it looks in this page like you're supposed to install it, but it doesn't then give you any instructions on what screws to use. And then all of a sudden you see it again here, cab installation. Ah, here we go, that might help. Ah, cab accessories. So let's pop the tray down for a minute so we're not putting that under any undue stress. Slide it out of the way. Now, having a look at this instruction manual, that there implies there's already a screw in place. Let's put the sub-assemblies together and we'll work through it. So that is a pair of wind trims that go on the back of the cab. That is the smokestack. Those are parts for the smokestack. And that is a ring which slots into the back fascia of the cab, which is here. So that doesn't matter which way it goes up from memory. And you just kind of slot it into place. Let's go here so you can see again. Zoom out a bit so it's not. So what we're working on is this piece here. Don't tell Mrs. Maker giving his kids some, I can't read all the chat. Giving his kids chrome. That screw is shown on page 88. I'm on page 88. Have they changed the manual again? Oh, shown on page 88 and a half in the between times. Now I get it. Sorry. So that's the top of the smokestack, just pokes into place. That's the bottom half, which will then screw in. And that faces the front. Now these are very tight interference fits, guys, and sometimes you just got to lever them a bit. Close enough. So I'm just having another quick look at what's going on with this piece before I put it into place. Or one of the parts, according to this, you're supposed to lock into place using the seats by sliding the seats back. That's never going to happen. But okay, sure. Okay, M316s. There's some M316s and there's some M38s. So there's two of those there. And we've got a scroll bar. There we go. Two M38s which go into the cab itself. And then some M316s which go through those trim pieces. Okay. There's still no mention of what screws actually hold the cab on. And that's the end of the manual. Just go through this page by page to show you guys. That's the tray. There's not even any screws showing the cab being held into place here. It is evident they're supposed to be. I'm going to take an educated guess and screw the cab into place with these two M38s. Because otherwise it's going to be moving around all over the place. Hands plus me. That screw's started to bite. Now, with the way the printer has been printing, sometimes I've been having issues with holes that are printed straight onto the build plate. They come out just a little bit small because of elephant's foot into the hole. So what I'm doing is I'm just using a drill bit to open up the hole a little bit to give the screws a chance to get into the plastic. That's better. Sorry, I know I've gone quiet again. I'm just concentrating. Okay, so cap is secured in place. Put that over there for 1 second. Are we going to be able to put those screws in with the trims on? So that goes in there. Then we have the M3. It's an M316, wasn't it? M316 goes through that part. That has to go on after the plate is in place. And they were M3, what did we discover they were? M38s. We're getting there, guys. We know it chooches. I need to reverse the direction of the throttle. And I know it steers, but it's probably going to need a different steering arm, and there was multiple different sets of steering arms included in the printable files. It just wasn't clear which one we needed to use for our particular servo. 1. Adjust my first layer squish. Yeah, I know I need to adjust it, but it's actually really good now, but when I was printing some of this, it just wasn't quite there yet. So that's 2 of the 4. I'm trying hard not to get my head between the model and the camera. Hey Jex, I hope you're wearing your Down Under Maker gear at the moment. Got to be wearing the merch when you watch the stream, dude. Which gives me that neat segue into reminding everybody that there is a link to my Fourth Wall merch store in the description. So please, if you feel like supporting me, I am not a monetized channel. If you feel like supporting me, that's the best way, is to buy some swag from the merch store. And just for giggles, go and have a look at my Down Under Maker pillow. I have a custom pillow that you can buy. I know what I did. I forgot to put these trims on. Oh well. At least we know the screws are already pre-threaded. So how did David end up finishing with his Doom Cube stream? It looked like he was getting a little bit frustrated with the manual, from what I was gathering from dropping in and out while I was setting up. The pillow is funny. I try. You play D&D in it. And everybody was like, but how much of a nerd are you? Are you still going, is he? One thing I can tell you guys is streaming and building is an entirely different thing to being able to just walk away. You get to that point where you know everything is working against you, but you just have to keep pushing through. There's been a couple of times on this build series where I didn't have the option of rage quitting and coming back in the next day, so I've just had to put things down, take a breath, hope that you guys didn't notice too much, and then oh, that didn't screw in properly. That's all right. We've got those screws started now. Yeah, really, really, really wanted to put things down and walk away. But you guys were here, so I've had to just on the fly move on to something else and keep going. It's been really good for my patience. Now, tomorrow, when I've got my daughter here, the plan is to, in lieu of hanging out with you guys, take her out with this truck and have a play. And what I'll try and do is I'll get a short video of us at the park. These screws are too short. I thought they might be. I'd seen mentions on the 3D Sets Facebook page that everybody thought that these sets of screws were just that little bit too short, so not entirely surprised. So I've gone up from an M38 to an M310. That's better. Yeah, the H just not biting. Move this back into the middle of the shot a bit better. Was he in the Marines? If so, he was probably up at Darwin. And yeah, in inverted commas, jungle, except with saltwater crocodiles. So it's not like any Tarzan movie or anything like that you've ever seen, where it looks like where the crocodiles are small. Saltwater crocodiles up north and outside of Darwin can be 5 or 6 meters long. That's the genuine wildlife that wants to come for you. That screw is just not grabbing. as I would expect it to anyway. Turn the whole thing around so I'm a bit closer to the action. That's better. This is the last of the 8mm. I think that just fell into the well where the piston plugs in. So that was those. Now we need the M316s. The drop bears. It's always the drop bears, isn't it? It's always the drop bears. I also put the screw in on the right side. So now that slots onto there. I'm really glad I didn't have the door on then. Okay. Let's put that down. Slide it over here for a moment. And let's dismantle this piston. Where's that? Ah, that's the one I actually want. Please come out. That's right. That's the part that comes out. Replacement part, ever so slight stringing because I've had the filament dryer off for a couple of days. That's not the end of the world. And you know what? The interference fit on that is so good, I'm not even going to bother putting a screw through that. I might be able to show you the D's. So you can see there's two different facets. This here is a flat, and there, and there, and then this is circular. Truck up here. And let's go back to the piston section. And it was an M310. Crocs are just a... Okay. Let's zoom out. Too tight, loosen that off. So that plate snaps into place. And then that's going to have a screw through there in a minute. Let's find out what size. That was the M316. My spidey senses were tingling for a moment. Then I realized somebody had mentioned bacon in chat. Bacon. Okay. Screw in the top, screw in the bottom. And then we put the little chassis hook down. Let's see if we can do something. Let's add another scene. Sorry guys, you guys are going to just have to cope with this for a moment. A video source. Existing. That one. There we go. So we have the piston in place. It's mounted top and bottom. There's the support arm. The piston is not power controlled in any way. It's for show. But look at that. So where we're at so far. Battery is installed, receiver is installed, speed controller is installed. We've tested things and they are more or less working. We need to reverse the forwards and backwards functionality. What else do we need to do? We need to build the doors. So let's park this off over here for a minute. I'm going to leave you on that camera because I like that view for the moment. The old doors and the new doors. I'm just going to check something. That's much closer to fitting. I don't know why, but there was the fit for the door onto the hinge is an exceedingly tight fit. Like wouldn't even remotely fit with this version. But actually, let's add in another. Video source, add existing, that one. And let's go and just for a minute we'll do that. Right, so what we need to do is dismantle the doors and fit them to this. Now I'm going to try and leave that entire assembly together while I quickly... How did I get that out last time? Big screwdriver. The black part here is press fit in. One. Get rid of that. This isn't really working. Let's go back to that and that. Door one fixed. Door two. I'm sorry guys, I can't keep up with chat and concentrate on what's going on here at the moment. I'm seeing things about Ryobi and shivs. So I can only just trust that Jex is behaving himself. Okay, so doors are swapped over. The question is now, guys, do I file the door or do I file the hinge mounts to make them fit best? Let's go here so you can see again. So just here is where the hinge is. And it's an exceedingly, and I do mean exceedingly tight fit. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do that without breaking something. File whichever will be hidden the best. The design means both will be hidden reasonably well. My gut feeling is to hopefully not take my fingers off with a scalpel and try and cut 1 or 2 layers off. It probably only needs 1 layer height, so if I can get in that layer seam. Yeah, that's shaved off 1 layer reasonably easily. Scalpel blades aren't really the right method. All right, that's 1 whole layer razor bladed off there. That fits better. However, it's not quite lining up for the filament hole, I don't think. Oh, there we go. That popped into place. Now, this is one of those times where you use a tiny piece of filament as your hinge pin. I'm going to take that door off. Yeah, I thought so. It doesn't quite fit. What I've got here is some extra long 1.75mm drill bits. Let's go. And that will allow me to do is just get in here a little easier to open this hole up. So now, hopefully that means, yep, the filament fits. Just going to open up the corresponding hole in the bottom of the door hinge system. There's no easy way to show you guys what I'm doing. There just isn't. Let's get rid of the scalpel before I stab myself. Other door out of the way. I think what I should be able to do is use the tape. There. Should have done that to begin with. I've taken the mirror off. Now the filament does fit through there quite nicely. So now it's just a case of lining up these two holes. There we go. Pliers. I think that's it. Now, snips. I'm not going to mess with that for now. I'm going to leave that as is. Now that doesn't quite close properly, but I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to leave that in place. Let's do the other side. Put that there for a moment. Unscrew the mirror. Long drill bit. Night, Brad. Just having trouble gripping this. Done. So again, we're going to need to trim off a little bit of that plastic from the hinge. Let's take those out before we lose them. I'm doing this a little bit blind so you guys can see probably better than I can at this point. I think I've actually taken off 2 layers this time. So rather than risk things, I'm going to just hit this up so I can see better. There we go. Plastic off. Door. There's a little lip that I missed. There we go. I've gone quiet again, haven't I, guys? Sorry. Just trying to find the bottom hinge hole. I think that's in place. I can always replace this afterwards if I need to. Cut that off. Now this door fits fractionally better than the other one. It's not perfect though. I think I'm going to need to do a little bit of fettling to get that to fit nicely. Big screwdriver. Done. In. See if I can just work out what's going on with this door on this side. So just to give you guys a better understanding of what's going on, the door just doesn't quite want to close. Ah. It cracked. Just wait until it gets out in the Australian sun and it fits. That didn't fit. I'm going to have to print another door. I just wish I knew why it wasn't quite. Just not quite right. To be honest with you guys, if this is going to be played with by my kids, it's almost certainly going to end up with the doors glued on anyway. But I would have liked to have done it the right way. Let's put the mirrors on so we can see how it looks with the mirrors on. One. Okay, the doors don't quite latch into place. Nothing like a destructive setup for kids, that's right. Let's go for that one. Not that one. It's set up. It's working, guys. The door is hanging on by a thread, but it's all put together. So let's go into the remote control. And we're going to need to turn the power switch on. And we're connected. We need to go menu. Where was the menu button? One of these is a menu button. Menu, system, setup, reverse. So it's not that one. No. I don't remember what we've got it plugged in on, guys. And I can't easily see it without dismantling everything. So let's just play with it until we find it. Nope, not that one. Forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards. I'm going to build a second one, Nick. It drives. Yeah, my thoughts is what I'll do is the little guy will get the basically exact same truck, but with the front wheels locked. and no motor gear in it. So it'll have all the axles, but it won't have any of the motors in there. So that he can basically push it around like a big Tonka truck kind of situation. So that's done, guys. It's about 10 minutes till the end of the stream window anyway. So I am going to quickly turn this off. And what I'm thinking that I might do is I'm going to finish redo the doors, get them all nicely done off stream. I'm going to do the servo setup so that the servo is steering the wheels to the right amount, because at the moment there's just not enough leverage. It needs the clevises adjusting ratio wise. And then I might do a YouTube short with this all running and post that up as a short to see if we can get a bit more traction with viewers that way as well. What should we do for 5 minutes? Let's put the truck out of the way. Let's turn that off because the wine is annoying me. There we go. Remote control in the tray. Way too big to stick in his mouth. Yes, definitely. Although he'd try. Put the screwdriver back in the caddy. I like having the caddy. It's not the caddy I would use, I don't think, if I was... It's not quite right. It's good. Gives me a good jumping off point, but I might break out the CAD and be modifying this up, I think. Like, in order for the screwdrivers to fit, they actually go into the drawer and they hold the drawer and they bind it up. I've got 3 razor blades out, so I'm just going to put those away so there's no chance of them falling on the floor and the little guy getting to them. Soldering iron is off and away, so that's good. So, next stream. That bad boy. I'm going to have to rearrange all my cameras. I've already made arrangements that either Nick or Jex or some of you guys who are around, I'll put a post up on my Discord. I'll post a link to my Discord shortly. Whoever's around on Discord will stream it to Discord so it's not going up on YouTube, and we'll get the cameras all set up so that it works for something that big, because at the moment I'm all set up for something here and not something much bigger. And I think I'm going to need to move this camera so that it's further away and kind of tilted back a bit so that it's looking down more at an angle to be able to capture a lot more of what's going on. I am all set up to allow that to happen, but yeah, it's much better done off stream than doing this. Oh, thanks, Jex. Jex has already posted the Discord. Feel free to join it, guys. It's mostly just people hanging shit on me and calling me silly names. But it does mean that you guys can know what's going on a little bit behind the scenes. I do occasionally post photos of what I'm doing behind the scenes to get things ready for streams and that sort of stuff. That was the untidy one. That was the broken one. They've gone in the bin. Those little blocks I'm going to super glue on after the stream because I'm not going to go chasing super glue while you guys are watching. So where we're at, let's bring up Chrome. Let's zoom out on this a little bit. We are almost here. The hinge pins not working. Why, where, how, don't know. Not quite working. Also jokes about Australia, yeah. Speaking of which, next week the stream is going to have a little bit of a lean, which I don't normally do. I won the Crucicore one, for those who don't know, from a charity stream for the I forget the name of it, Trevor Foundation or Trevor Org or something like that. Trevor Project, that's what it is. And I would like to, during that stream, I'm not going to be doing any collection, but I will be heavily promoting the Trevor Project and saying, guys, if you've got a few spare dollars, go ahead and support them some more. I'm going to see if Nomad's Galaxy's charity link is still up so that they get donated via his link if at all possible. And yeah, give if you can. If you can't, you can't. But yeah, during that time, we'll have some fun. I might even have something a little bit more drinkable around. So feel free to have a beer with me while we put together the core one, test it out, and abuse it a little bit. With that, it is 2 minutes before the end of my normal stream window, so I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to wave bye-bye to all of you. That one. Bye-bye to everyone. I have been Phil. I have been the Down Under Maker, and it's time for me to hop on out of here. Bye, guys.